Hello, what is up guys? It's Levi here today, back with another baking video. Today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the recipe you saw on my post on YouTube a couple of weeks ago, the pumpkin spice cookie with the black and white frostings. Absolutely delicious. A lot of people requested this one, so I wanted to get it out there so you could make it yourself. It's really quite simple to make, but it does have a lot of things involved, so the recipe will be in the description below, and also we'll go through and make it for you right now. So without any further ado, let's get into it, and let's start by making the pumpkin spice cookie itself. So the first thing we need to do is mix together the butter and sugar. So we have 1 stick of butter that's been softened, and we're going to add to that 1 1/4 cups of sugar. This is just regular sugar. We'll be using confectioners or 10X or powdered sugar, whatever you want to call it, a little bit later for the frostings. But at any rate, you just want to get these two things incorporated together. So get a spatula, one of these silicone one works really well, and just start mixing it together and get it all sort of incorporated. So after a few minutes, you'll have it stirred together and it'll sort of start to clump together into like a ball. It'll look like a dough, but trust me, sugar and butter is not a dough. We need to add some more stuff to this. So what we're gonna wanna do next is add 2 large eggs, and you wanna add them in 1 at a time. The whole egg, not egg whites, not egg yolks, whole egg, 2 at a time, right on in. So we'll put this one in first. Go ahead and mix that in. And so at this point, it'll have like a paste-like consistency, and you can see it turned yellow and it like thickened right up. And we're gonna go ahead and add in that second egg now that we have it like this. So once again, you'll get this paste-like consistency once you get it all mixed together. Now what we need to do is go ahead and add in 1 cup of pumpkin. So this is just pumpkin, like literally canned pumpkin. Just go ahead and drop that on into this, so 1 cup. Mix that all in. And now it's finally going to start to resemble that orange color that you know so well from these pumpkin spice types of desserts. And after you've got that mixed in, we're going to go ahead and start adding in our flour. So this is 2 cups of flour, 2 cups of flour, all-purpose flour, nothing crazy. Just go ahead and drop that on in. And stir and mix it all together. So you want to take special care to make sure you get everything in on the sides as well. You don't want to leave any like loose flour falling into your dough when you go ahead and drop it on your cookie sheet or anything like that. After you've got that pretty well mixed together, you're going to go ahead and add in 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 1 teaspoon of baking powder and ½ a teaspoon of salt. So that's all inside of this little container here, just dropping it all in at once. And make sure you get that all evenly distributed as well in here. You don't want that clumping together, otherwise you get messed up cookies. And then finally, it wouldn't be a pumpkin spice if we didn't add spices. So inside of here we have cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, and ginger. So all of the actual measurements of these will be included in the description below. Go ahead and get that spread on in there as well. And once again, make sure you incorporate it evenly so that you have a pumpkin spice. The nice thing about this is because it's so much darker, you'll be able to see if it's clumping together, which will help you to realize when you've blended in all of the baking soda and baking powder. Make sure you stir this until you have an even distribution of that brownish powder color. So the final ingredient that you need to add into this is going to be a teaspoon of vanilla. So this is just vanilla extract. I'm just going to drop in a little dash, but you need 1 teaspoon of the vanilla extract. Just go ahead and stir that in as well. And after you've got that all mixed together, and make sure you go around the sides one time that you got everything together and all is right with the cosmos here, you'll be all set. And this is our dough ready to go. So now we're going to go ahead and make our buttercream, and the buttercream recipe is also super simple. Once again, you're going to need 1 stick of butter softened, and if you want to soften your stick of butter without having to sit there and wait all day, you can go ahead and put it in the microwave 10-15 seconds, and it'll soften right down. The next thing we're going to add to this for the vanilla buttercream is going to be 2 cups of confectioner's sugar. This is the 10X sugar, powdered sugar, the really fine stuff. Looks very like powdery. So go ahead and add this in like half of it. You don't want to put all 2 cups in at once. So go ahead and put maybe about 1 cup into here. And we want to get this incorporated in nice and easily here. We want to make sure that we have like a good base before we go ahead and put the rest of the sugar in. So go ahead and start stirring this together. Once again, if you want to use like a manual stir like this with the spatula, or you can go ahead and do something like a mix master to go ahead and mix it all together automatically for you. Go ahead and get this to get it to the same sort of consistency we had with the dough when we were making it with the butter and the sugar. So you can see that happened really quickly. It just all of a sudden went to like this sort of buttery, pasty, frosting-like consistency. We can go ahead and add a little bit more of the sugar in. And not drop the bowl this time. But you basically want to do this at stages, that way the powdered sugar doesn't go flying all over the place when you're mixing it all together. So once again, we're back to that buttery, pasty consistency, so go ahead and add in the rest of the sugar. And stir this in until it's pretty well blended. It doesn't need to be perfect yet, but just make sure you don't have globs of sugar just floating around in the bowl. So once again, until you get that like buttery, sugary, pasty sort of consistency, you can see, like I can smear this and it sort of looks like it would be frosting. So what we need to do now is like loosen this up a little bit. You don't want to go over the top at all on this, otherwise you'll end up with like water cream, not buttercream. And the reason why I love this recipe so much is because it's so simple to remember. It's a bunch of ones and then 2 cups of sugar. So it was 1 stick of butter. It's going to be 1 teaspoon of milk here. I'm just going to go add a very little bit of amount of milk here. So just 1 teaspoon of milk going to get thrown into there. Go ahead and incorporate that, and you're going to see it'll loosen up immensely right away. And then after you've got that teaspoon of milk incorporated, you're going to go ahead and add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. But anyway, after a few more minutes of stirring, it's going to have that like frosting consistency that you know and love for buttercream. At this point, you're going to want to go ahead and try it just to make sure that it tastes good, but also because you like frosting and just want to eat it by itself anyway. And after you've made sure that the flavor's okay, that you didn't go too heavy with the vanilla or anything like that, you can go ahead and spice this up a little bit. So because these are pumpkin spice cookies, we're going to go ahead and make a cinnamon buttercream. So what you're going to want to do is to taste, add in cinnamon into the frosting and mix it all together. So just a little bit of cinnamon. You don't want to go too heavy because you don't want it to just taste like cinnamon. But go ahead and add it in, mix it together, and then give it another sample until you've got the right flavor that you enjoy. But once you got that flavor balance set, you're done with the vanilla buttercream and go ahead and move that to the side. Now we're going to make the chocolate. So the chocolate buttercream itself is also pretty much the same exact thing. Once again, 1 stick of butter. And then this time, instead of 2 cups of sugar, it's going to be 1.75, so 1 3/4 cups of the confectioners powdered sugar, and then 1/4 cup of cocoa powder. So we're going to go ahead and once again, just like before, a little bit of it, not all at once, do maybe 1/3 of the bowl, half of the bowl, and get that mixed in with the butter to start with. Then once again, just like with the vanilla buttercream, after you've almost got it there, we're going to go ahead and add in 1 teaspoon of milk, except I way overshot it right there. So in fact, we're probably only going to do about half of that because about half of it went over the top. And this will, once again, loosen it up and make it a lot easier to go ahead and finish stirring. Then once again, also another maybe 3/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla. And that'll do it. That'll be our chocolate buttercream. So now that we got our frostings ready to go and our cookie batter has been completed, we're going to go ahead and start getting it ready to bake. So your oven's got to be preheated to 350 degrees, and go ahead and get a cooking sheet or baking tray or whatever you want to call these, laid out with some parchment paper over the top. I'm going to be using an ice cream scoop to scoop these in, but you can use a spoon. You can use whatever you want, really, and make them really as big as you want. And our bake time at 350 degrees is going to be about 15 minutes. Might be a little less or a little more, depending on how your oven cooks, how quickly it cooks. But just go ahead, dip your ice cream scooper into the batter, and plop it down onto the parchment paper. We'll go ahead and pretty them up here in a little bit, but just go ahead and get them all out there. So after you've got them down, you can go ahead and pretty them up with like a spoon. Sort of just round it, make it more cookie-like with just like a regular teaspoon, serving or cereal spoon or whatever you want to call it. Just go ahead and round them all off so they look more cookie-like in shape. After you've done that, into the oven, 350 for about 15 minutes. You can go ahead and put together all of your trays so they're ready just to go in and out as we make them. All right, so when they come out of the oven, they're gonna look like this. You're gonna wanna let them cool for like 20, 30 minutes. So if you have a cooling rack, or you can just leave them on the tray, but you wanna make sure they're nice and cool before you start applying the frostings. You don't want your buttercreams to melt and get all over each other. Anyway, the cookie's gonna come out of the oven like that, right? To make this cookie, you actually need to flip it upside down. You want the flat surface for frosting. And we're just gonna go ahead and use butter knives to apply our butter creams. Really quite simple. So 1/2 the cookie's gonna get vanilla, the other half is going to get chocolate. Let's go ahead and get some of the vanilla buttercream. Spread it on out. Go ahead and get the chocolate buttercream. Spread it out. And voila, you have the cookie complete. Go ahead and repeat this process until you're done with all of the cookies you were able to get out of your dough. But anyway, guys, that is basically all you need to do to make this delicious confectionery treat. If you did like the video, make sure to leave a like, check out some of the other videos on the channel, and make sure you're subscribed so you stay updated when new content comes out. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you at the next stream, video, or wherever I happen to see you. Peace. But anyway, let's get right into it and let's get started making the cookie itself. So there's a whole bunch of different ingredients you're going to need, and that's really... That's my oven preheating. Alright, so when the cookie's coming out of the oven, they're going to look like this, like a basic cookie. It's going to be like spongy. It's more of a cake than a cookie, but it still qualifies as a cookie. What the frig am I even saying right now?